You can feel it before you see it. Bangkok builds upward, speed in the air, friction on the street. But every shortcut has a cost. On January 14th, 2026, that cost turned fatal. Construction equipment collapsed onto a moving passenger train in Nakhon Ratchasima. In seconds, the promise of progress became tragedy. This is not a story against building up. It's a story about what happens when ambition outruns oversight. Because speed is never free. Someone always pays. Bangkok builds up. The Skytrain era and the cost of speed. December 5th, 1999. Bangkok switches on a new layer of the city. Not another road on the ground, where traffic already owns the day, but a line in the air, built to move above the heat and the gridlock. For the first time, millions can cross Bangkok without bargaining with the street. The BTS opens with a simple promise: time returned. Commutes that used to be measured in uncertainty become a predictable sequence of stations. Distances shrink, not by geography, but by connection. And once that second level exists, the city reorganizes around it. Stations become magnets. Skywalks pull people off the sidewalks. New towers rise where access is easiest. Because a train line doesn't just move people, it moves value. It redraws what feels close and what feels far. From the street, the viaduct is a shadow. From above, it's a shortcut. And in 1999, Bangkok sets a new pace. The belief that the future should be faster and that speed should be built into the city itself. That belief sparked an era of building up. And it also began the quiet accumulation of a bill, in money, in politics, in access, and, when oversight fails, in safety. Chapter 1. A city in two layers, street versus sky. Bangkok isn't one city. It's two. At street level, movement is a negotiation. Heat, exhaust, motorbikes, gridlock, and sidewalks that appear and disappear without warning. Down here, speed costs effort, attention, and time. Then you reach the escalator, and Bangkok changes. Above the road, the noise drops, the air turns cool, the flow becomes organized. You stop fighting the street and start moving through a system. That's why the BTS isn't just transport, it's a filter. It decides what feels close and what feels far. It turns minutes into a currency. It gives time back if you can reach it and if you can pay for it. And that's the first cost of speed, a vertical border. The sky layer doesn't replace the street layer. It floats above it. So the same distance can feel effortless to one person and punishing to another. If your day starts near a station, the city opens up. If it doesn't, you pay in extra steps, walks, transfers, waiting in the sun, just to reach the shortcut. In Bangkok, the future isn't only ahead, it's above. Chapter 2. Bangkok builds up. The elevated boom. Now watch Bangkok from a moving train. This view reveals what the city believes in: height, momentum, and the promise of a faster tomorrow. Outside the window, the boom is everywhere. Pillars rise in perfect intervals. Rebar forests wait to become concrete. Massive beams rest on temporary supports, and unfinished spans reach forward like a sentence that isn't finished yet. This is infrastructure in mid-construction, the city building its next layer while the old one keeps running underneath. And that's the defining feature of Bangkok's upward era. There is no pause, no clean reset, only add another level and keep moving. Every new elevated segment is sold as relief. Less traffic, shorter commutes, more connection. And much of the time it works. But building up also multiplies complexity. More projects at once, more contractors and subcontractors, more interfaces where small mistakes can become big failures, more pressure to finish, because the city is already waiting. From the train, the patterns look calm. Columns, spans, repeated geometry. But every repetition is a reminder. This kind of speed is manufactured. It depends on discipline you can't see from the platform. Planning, supervision, procedures, and inspections done right. Because when a city builds in the air, the margin for error is smaller. Gravity doesn't negotiate. And the higher the boom climbs, the more expensive failure becomes. Chapter 3. The price of time, fares, access, and who gets the speed. Speed feels like a miracle in Bangkok. But it isn't a miracle, it's a product. You pay for it at the gate, in small numbers that add up quietly, and you pay for it long before that, in how close you live to the escalator. That's what the rail layer really sells. Not just a ride, but a shorter life distance. Because in a city where traffic can steal hours, time is not just time. Time is sleep. Time is energy. Time is whether your day has room to breathe. Time is whether you can say yes to a job on the other side of town. And the people who benefit most from speed are the people who can reach it easily. If your neighborhood connects cleanly to the station, your day becomes lighter. If it doesn't, speed comes with extra steps. A bus, a motorcycle taxi, a long walk in the sun, another queue, another transfer, another layer of waiting. So the real map of Bangkok isn't only geography, it's access. Stations become magnets, walkways become funnels, and the city begins to price itself by connection. This is another cost of speed, not only what you pay per trip, but what you pay to live near the shortcut. Because in Bangkok, the future arrives on schedule, but not everyone can afford the ticket. Chapter 4. Money and Mandates, Concessions, Politics, and Oversight. Elevated rail looks like engineering, but behind the concrete is a second structure: contracts. Who builds? Who operates? Who collects fares? Who carries debt? Who is responsible when something goes wrong? This is the part most passengers never see, the mandate layer. In Bangkok, rail is tied to concessions, extensions, and negotiations between agencies, city hall, operators, and national politics. And when those negotiations stall, the costs don't disappear. They accumulate. They become disputes over payments, over who owes whom, over what the public should subsidize, and what private operators should be allowed to charge. That isn't abstract. It shapes the system people live inside. Because fare policy is political, expansion is political, even the definition of finished is political. And in a construction boom, politics creates pressure. Pressure to open on time. Pressure to keep building while the city keeps moving underneath. Pressure to treat safety as a checkbox instead of a culture. Oversight is the invisible pillar of an elevated city. You don't notice it when it's strong. You notice it when it fails. So when we talk about the cost of speed, it isn't only the fare at the gate. It's the price of governance, the quality of decisions, the transparency of contracts, and the discipline to slow down when safety demands it. Because gravity doesn't care who signed what, and a city built in the air survives only as long as its oversight does. Chapter 5. The Accident, January 14th, 2026. When build-up turns into tragedy. January 14th, 2026. A passenger train is moving through Nakhon Ratchasima. Ordinary people, ordinary distance, an ordinary day. Above the line, construction is underway. Another elevated segment, another future being assembled in the air. Then something massive comes down. Construction equipment collapses onto the moving train. Metal meets metal. Momentum becomes violence. Cars buckle. The train derails. In minutes, a story that was supposed to be about progress becomes a disaster. Lives are lost. Dozens are injured. Families are changed permanently. This is the moment the build-up era reveals its hardest truth. When you build in the air, failure does not stay in the air. It falls into the path of whatever is beneath it. And what makes this especially disturbing is how familiar the scene is. Anyone who has watched this boom from a train window has seen the same ingredients. Temporary supports, heavy segments suspended above live routes, work zones that share space with the public because the country cannot pause. Most days, nothing happens. The system holds. The city keeps moving. That's why the shock cuts so deep, because the accident is not a reminder that engineering is impossible. It's a reminder that engineering is unforgiving. Every elevated project depends on discipline the public cannot inspect. Planning, supervision, procedures, inspections done right, and the courage to stop when something looks wrong. After January 14th, the question is no longer only, how fast can we build? It becomes, who is accountable for safety when a country builds above active life? Because in the upward era, the cost of speed is not abstract. It has names, and it has consequences that do not end when the headlines fade. Chapter 6. The Aftershock, Second Collapse, Work Pauses, Inspections, Accountability. The crash on January 14th wasn't the end of the story. It was the moment the country stopped pretending the risks were theoretical. Soon after, a second collapse near Bangkok is reported. 2 more lives are lost, and the question shifts from tragedy to pattern. Because a single accident can be misfortune, but repeated failures point to systems. How projects are managed, how safety rules are enforced, and how quickly warnings are acted on. After the second collapse, work pauses and inspection orders follow. Construction is halted on multiple sites, and safety reviews are demanded before work continues. On paper, that sounds simple. Stop, check, fix, resume. In reality, it's a test of accountability. Who has the authority to shut a site down? Who verifies the inspection is real? Who signs off that safe actually means safe? And who pays, financially and politically, when schedules slip? This is where mega-projects reveal their true weight. They are not only engineering problems, they are governance problems. Because oversight is not a speech. Oversight is a routine. Independent checks, clear standards, transparent reporting, and consequences when contractors cut corners. If those consequences are weak, pressure wins, and the public becomes part of the risk. The aftershock is not just a second collapse. It's the moment everyone sees the same thing at once. A country can build up quickly, but it can only build up safely when accountability moves faster than ambition. Because in the air, there is no such thing as a small failure. There is only a failure that hasn't fallen yet. Chapter 7. What comes next? Building up, building right. After a crash, every country promises it won't happen again. But promises don't hold up concrete. Systems do. If Thailand's elevated future continues, the next era can't be defined only by speed. It has to be defined by discipline, independent inspections, standards that are enforced, and the courage to stop work when something looks wrong. It also has to be transparent. When public life runs underneath construction, the public deserves to know who is responsible and what happens when contractors fail. Because accountability is the real infrastructure. Without it, every new segment is just a bet. Bangkok proved that building up can change a city. Now Thailand has to prove that building up doesn't have to cost lives. That is what building right means. Faster only when standards are truly met. Because in the air, there is no forgiveness, only consequences. Bangkok's Skytrain era proved that building up can change daily life. It can return time, reduce friction, and make a city feel smaller. But January 14th, 2026 proved something else. When you build in the air, failure doesn't stay in the air. So the real measure of progress isn't only how fast a line opens, it's what a country refuses to sacrifice to open it. Because speed is never free. Someone always pays, in money, in access, or, when oversight fails, in human life. If the next chapter is written with discipline, transparency, and real accountability, then building up can still mean building forward. If you want more documentaries like this, subscribe to Timeless Tales. And if you've lived in Bangkok, commuted on the BTS, or watched this boom up close, share your view in the comments. What did the sky layer change for you? And what should building right look like next?
You make me wanna dance, James, wanna make me wanna scream. You light a fire, baby, cause it feels like a fever dream. I'll make it better, better. You make it wetter, wetter. Wanna tell you what I mean, but it might just be more than it seems. Jack of all trades, master of everything, the baddest, know the